Yes.
Okay.
All right, everyone. This is the next Happy Mally Coffee, where we discuss interesting questions of Happy Mally members. And this time, Patrick is going to tell us what the great question is that we received, and that was voted the top question this time. So, Patrick, go ahead.
Yes. So we got this week a question on how we can help to transform into a network organization. And the question details are about facing the challenge of transforming a part of the organization into a vibrating network, which touches a strong hierarchical organization at certain points. And that creates tension within the upper management, which initiated the transformation. So the owner of the question is asking, how do we avoid the risk that we slowly regress again into a hierarchy? And we understand if there are people that have gone through similar situations and what we can do to prevent that the hierarchy swallows the network.
Okay, good. Well, that's a fascinating question. And so we have Nicoletta here joining us, and maybe one or two others. I don't know. Sometimes other people pop up during the conversation. And if you're not talking, please set yourself to mute. I sometimes hear strange noises from background noises. The question is about networks. How can we help to transform into a network organization? Can we improve that question? I was wondering, because my own thinking was, aren't all organizations already in some way network organizations? Because they exist, they contain people, and they collaborate often in a network fashion. So I was just thinking that what prevents people from expanding that even more? What is it that is holding them back? So instead of asking how can we transform into a network organization, I thought maybe we could rephrase it to how can we emphasize the network organization or something like that, because the network is already there. People have friends across departments, they spread rumors across departments, they go out with each other across departments. It's just that for some things people stick to their departments. So anyway, that was just my thinking, but maybe Nicoletta has her own thoughts about the question.
I think, yeah, so we need to rephrase the question a bit, because hierarchy, so if there is a long history of hierarchy or management, then a transformation miraculously into a network organization is like, so people don't want to take the responsibility. So when there is a hierarchical chain, that they don't have to take all the responsibility. They only need to take responsibility for their small little actions, or no action at all, because the tasks are given to them. So it's a responsibility of their bosses and managers. So I think this is one thing which prevents this naturally happening, or in a big organization. Because in small companies, like in a startup, you have to do the job. So you cannot have this liberty to just not do the job, and because you don't want to be accountable or responsible for this.
Yeah. So you said you touch upon responsibility and accountability. That seems to be the thing that gets constrained to the boxes while people may have lunch with each other, go out with each other, spread rumors with each other, they talk and everything, but once they make decisions, once they feel responsibility and accountability, they look at their box and restrict themselves to what they are allowed to do or what is expected from them. Yeah. Okay. Yep. That. I can understand that. What about Patrick?
Yes, I agree with what Nicoletta is saying. I think it is a matter of how do you, maybe the choice of words is not correct, but how do you formalize the existence of the network? I think the networks exist, but they are hidden under the hierarchical display to the outside world, which indeed comes with who is responsible for what, who is allowed to take a decision. And as you say, people connect at work, before work, after work. I see that being here in Spain, I see that a lot, because here people tend to come to work first and then go with a group of colleagues for breakfast. So these networks exist. It's just that they seem to be informal and not related to taking responsibility as a network for what needs to be done. So I think the rephrasing of the question is correct. It's not about how do we get the hierarchy to accept, or maybe the question is how do we get the hierarchy to accept that there is a network and therefore change the role of the hierarchy.
Yeah, I like that. So how can we get the hierarchy to accept that there is a network? Douwe, you just joined us. Did you hear the question? We don't hear you. You're on mute.
I was a little bit late on the conversation, so I just hop in.
All right, but did you hear the question that we were discussing?
A little bit. Yeah.
I'll rephrase it for you. So how can we help to transform into a network organization? So this is about the hierarchy that is preventing people from operating as a network, or that is sometimes swallowing people's efforts at transforming into a network. And we were just discussing that, well, organizations actually already have an informal social network. The network is already there. But the network is not in use when people look at their responsibilities and accountabilities. Then they look at their little boxes that are determined by the hierarchy. And as Patrick said, maybe the hierarchy should just acknowledge that there is already a network. It doesn't disappear. So that's as far as how we got. What is your thinking about that, Douwe?
I think about that is what you already mentioned in the Management 3.0 book is that there's a new form of management need that they let the people organize themselves. And what we're still facing is that the networks of people who have the same knowledge, skills, and want to talk about those things and make those things better, they are all over the companies. They exist. What you see, for example, in the Spotify way of working, they created this guild form where people are talking about the things they love, and they create value in those kind of things. But we still have to deal with the hierarchy where you have managers that are responsible for that silo thing that still exists. And what you mentioned in, for example, the Management 3.0 book is that the managers should let the people organize themselves. And there's need for us another kind of management for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But how do we introduce it? I agree with you. The as I sometimes say, the management job is like the glue between everything else.
Yeah.
Everyone is trying to do a good job and delivering value to others. But if you have multiple teams and a larger community than just 7 people, then things need to be organized somehow, and responsibilities need to be divided in some way or another. And we call this management. That's the word that I use.
But
you'll always need it.
But people are
always,
people are also used to that they have somebody that taking care of them.
Mm-hmm.
That is I think it's very difficult to just step from the side. Okay, we are used to do this, and now we should organize ourselves. Okay, it's okay, but there is a trap going back that they are used to do it the other way, and there is some kind of what you see is okay. But there is somebody who is telling me what to do, and this is really a circle that is coming. And for me, as example, as an agile coach, I completely every time I see this happening, but my boss is going to arrange that, and that's not the way people should self-organize themselves. And that's a hard job to do. It's really a hard job. And the managers should ask themselves, I want to do more golfing on the golf course, what you mentioned. How can I spend more time on the golf course? And trusting the people I have in my company, and the people in the company that are the most important things in the company. And when a manager is trusting their people, that is step one. I don't have the solution because managers are still managers. They are they are not coaches.
They're people too, you know. Did you realize they're actually human beings, for flesh and blood. They're people with all their problems. Patrick, raising your hand.
Yeah, so I think if you want to get management or higher management to accept the existence of a network and start using the networks that exist, it might be good to start asking them what kind of issues they run in today, and what part of that might be resolved if you start using a network. Because in my experience in my company, I see my managers frustrated because the other ones in the other department. And although we informally connect across departments, we don't get the liberty to take the decisions and move forward without a formal process. I think if you can get managers to acknowledge that there is an issue, and you can pinpoint where that issue comes from, and that it might be resolved by not applying in a hierarchical organization form, but by using the already existing networks, you can get a couple of those examples running, then you can start. It's as Dow is saying, no, it won't go away tomorrow, because these people are working like that 20 years. And you have executives that take a job because of their place in the hierarchy. How do you hire the best salesman in the world if you don't tell him that he gets a responsibility over 500 account managers? These people want that power. So you really have to show these kind of people, I think, what part of their current issues you might resolve. What is the real advantage of using the network that is already existing?
Yeah. So my own thinking here is that people are so used to thinking in higher and lower levels. They are so used in thinking in terms of superiors and subordinates that it is really, really hard to get rid of that in organizations that have already been running that way, have been working that way for years, decennia. To give you a very small example, someone is now working on a new module about better meetings for Management 3.0, which is great. And in the first draft, I gave as feedback that I missed something crucial, which was for me a typical Management 3.0 principle of you cannot tell anyone that they should join your meeting. That it should be allowed for any person to say, I'm not coming, I don't want to, I don't care about this meeting. Because once you do that, you change the management thinking, the command and control, into influencer relationships. So the person who is organizing a meeting has the responsibility of convincing others that it makes sense for them to join. And if that person cannot do that, then this is a failure mode for that person to switch to command and control and tell others that they have to be at the meeting. So I think we have to somehow change the organizational culture into understanding that anytime you tell someone else to do something, you failed. Because you have failed to be an influencer, you have failed to ask that person to please do this for me if you have time, or please come to my meeting because I think it is useful and your input will be appreciated, etc., etc. It is a very simple switch, but it is a really, really difficult one, because that means that managers have to give up their tell mode and start using the lower delegation levels, 6 and 7. Just let them do it and inquire, or give them advice and then let them figure it out. So I think that is what is one of the most important things is the struggle with how to introduce this switch in thinking from telling and selling to advising and inquiring. But how? I don't know. I offer delegation boards as a suggestion. That is what I often do, because once you visualize something like this between managers and subordinates, you already show that there are other options beside telling and selling, and that it would be nice to have the sticky notes move from the left to the right, from level 1 and 2 to level 5, 6, and 7, and it would even be a badge of honor for a manager to be able to show that he has delegated a lot of those key decision areas to levels 5, 6, and 7. I think that is something that coaches could introduce. Simply show the key decision areas without changing anything, just showing these are the current key decision areas. A lot of things are at level 1 and 2 and 3. It is on the manager side. And then have people look at it and think, okay, this can be different. We can move some tick marks further to level 5, 6, and 7. And that would be a matter of competence for the manager if he is able to do that, switching from tell to inquire and delegate. Anyways, long talk from my side, but that's that's my thinking. What's your other idea, Patrick?
No, I hear you say something that I find very interesting. This is badges for managers. The better you get a delegation, the bigger your badge, or the different badge you can get. It's interesting, and I think it's a bit in line with what Andrea put as a comment in the card. It was a newsflash.
Newsflash. Thank you, Douwe.
She says as well, you will have to look as well at your metrics, your KPIs, the way you incentivize the people today, and adjust that to encourage network behavior. It's not just talking to management or asking management to do something different. The whole system that surrounds it, that drives the hierarchical behavior today, should change together with it. And this is why I said these batches are actually kind of a fun idea, but you would need maybe a longer term coach in a company, or a longer management education type of program that lasts for a year, where people can show their progress and where they can obtain these badges. It'll be interesting to try out somehow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what I'm trying to think about and realize is that in order to change people's thinking, you have to start from where they are. You cannot simply tell them to be a different kind of person. That doesn't work. They have to realize step by step that there are other options that are actually quite interesting and maybe even better, starting from their current position. So you have to introduce things almost like a Trojan horse approach, where you offer solutions to traditional managers that appeal to them with their current thinking, from their current mindset. For example, many managers in traditional organizations are motivated by power and status, because this is how hierarchies work. They suck people up into management positions when they are motivated by power and status. There's nothing wrong with being motivated by status. I like status every now and then, but other people are motivated by other things, relatedness and mastery. But then they tend to choose other career paths, like they become a specialist, for example. So we have people in the hierarchy, upper hierarchy, who are motivated by power and status. So whatever you introduce to these people has to trigger their feeling of power and status. So that is, for example, why I suggest, why don't you put up a delegation board, and you can grow your competence and status as a manager by counting how many tick marks you have on the left side of the board, not on the right side. The further you are able to delegate, the higher your status as a manager. Like, I can give the very real story that I started with 30, 40 people that I was responsible for many years ago. But because I delegated a lot, I was able to increase my scope of control. And ultimately, I was responsible for 100 people. That was good for my feeling of status. I was managing half of the company, basically, was under my control. But I delegated everything. It was easy to have this kind of scope of control. So that appeals to someone with a status and power mindset. Oh, I can manage a lot more people when I delegate more. That is what I'm thinking of, like the Trojan horse approach. You have to introduce some kind of practice by triggering their current motivators, and then they realize, this delegation actually works quite well. I should do more of that. Dawo, you were raising your hand.
Yeah, what you say, okay, delegate it to those 100 people is only possible when you have trust in your people. Otherwise, you should do it yourself. And that is basically, I think, the key for a lot of managers. And still, I'm still saying that to everybody where I coach, that they should have trust in their people. Otherwise, they cannot delegate. And this is, for me, the number one factor that is really important.
Yeah, I agree there. But there is another side of the coin. I also often tell people that they should not simply expect to be trusted by upper management. It has to come from two sides. First of all, we have to trust that managers are human beings too. They're often trying to do a good job. They're just stuck in old traditional thinking, and they need help. So they don't need blame from the rest of the organization. And also, if you want trust from higher management, you should earn it over time, and that requires work and delivering on commitment and understanding their needs and talking their language, etc. I see so many people who are just complaining about management and telling me that they're not trusted by management, but they don't make any effort of understanding what are the needs of those higher managers and what is their language, how do they talk, what is the number one problem that they need to have resolved, and then solve it for them. And when you solve that problem for them, then you earn some respect and trust.
Yeah.
So
I agree for two side trust, of course. That's not an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I know that you know that, Douwe, but there are so many people who just don't realize it has to come from two sides. Yeah.
Yeah. Still sorry, I missed your presentation in Holland. I'm sorry for that.
There will be other ones. There's another one in Utrecht actually, and in a month or two.
Okay, but yeah, okay. Just telling you that.
No problem.
it was not my fault.
So Nicoletta, what is going on in your brain at this time?
Actually, that everything goes back to trust. I remember there was a Slack discussion last week or 2 weeks ago, and it all concluded back to trust. Well, you need to trust your colleagues, your manager. It's a very basic thing, and if trust is there's a lack of trust in a company, you cannot move forward, because the manager won't delegate things, the team won't trust them, the managers, that so it's a two-way street, and if they don't trust each other, then nothing good comes of it. So yes, and I think in a hierarchy, another problem which initiates this lack of trust is that the managers separate themselves from the actual teams and working and employees. They sit in the top of the buildings and in quiet corners and offices, and they don't interact with their employees. And obviously, you won't trust someone who you don't really know. You don't really talk. You don't know nothing about your manager. I think, so I love your your personal map exercise. Recently I did many with my teams, and it has a huge impact. Just knowing each other well, and I'm going to write a blog post about it because it's fantastic. So much information and so much aha moments, and oh my god, so it's so good.
That's cool. That's cool. I look forward to your blog post. I really do. So I will tweet about it.
Thanks.
That's cool. So yeah, that's trust is a huge thing. It always, as Nicoletta said, it always comes up again. There's something that was on the card where the question was posed earlier. There was a comment by damn, what was her name?
Andrea.
I forgot the name. Andrea, yeah, of course, Andrea. Tip of my tongue, typical example of tip of the tongue. Okay. Andrea said we need a vision. This is often missing in organizations. I sometimes ask, literally at companies, so what is the company purpose? What is the vision? Nobody knows. Nobody has any idea. Like making money or something. So that is a responsibility for top management as well, to have some kind of purpose, and then to have that purpose explained and made measurable through whatever you use, KPIs, OKRs, metrics, ecosystem, any kind of a practice that turns the vision into something that allows people to see progress. And then it is crucial that the things that people measure do not focus on just individual departments, and that they're not getting bonuses and rewards for achievements just in their own departments. Actually, the people should get rewards for collaborating across departments. Everything should expand to the entire value stream, the thing that you're measuring, so that you only make progress on your targets when you collaborate across the boundaries. And that is a management thing as well that is often forgotten. You cannot just expect people to work as a network when there is no vision, or when there is a vision in place or purpose in place, but everyone is trying to optimize their own targets. That is just not going to work. And that's, as I said, that's a management responsibility as well. So a lot of work to do there for coaches and consultants to realign those performance metrics and make them a bit more sensible. But anything, just something I wanted to point out. It was a good comment by Andrea. All right, well, 35 minutes already. Shall we start wrapping up? Anyone has some last wise words for our viewers who will be watching this later? Patrick?
Well, I think you made the last nice summary already. No, it's about trust. It's about making sure that the environment is set up so that the network actually can do its work effectively. And it's all about having a mission. Maybe for the next Happy Valley Coffee, an interesting question might be, what if a part of the organization does have a mission, does have a vision that they've defined together, but gets blocked by the hierarchy? But that's, again, that's a separate discussion. Huh? They have clear where the company should go and what their role, their function, their right of existence is within the company. But the company doesn't have it clear. Then what? Well, we can keep that one for another day. I think we covered the topic reasonably.
Okay, good. Well, any topics that you have or other people have, just add them to the Trello board, the Happy Valley Coffee Trello board. Patrick will be sharing that link every now and then on our Slack channels, and then we vote, and we will discuss another question in a week or two. Nicoletta or Douwe, do you have some last wise words for our dear viewers?
Yeah, I think it's a good wrap up. I think delegation boards and what Nicoletta was saying is making people understand who are in the company and what they are doing besides the company, knowing each other better. It's really much more fun to work in that company. And people should also ask themselves, is this the number one place I want to work for? Is this the place where I want to work all my life, or will I have fun in the coming years in where I work at this moment? And if people say no, they should ask themselves, okay, why I'm working here? And I think when you have that talk with each other, is this the number one workplace for me? then you have also that nice discussion about what people are interested in, and you get those vibes in the company, because I see this happening all the time. It's a good suggestion, Nicoletta, and I'm already looking forward to your blog as well.
Thanks.
So yeah, that's a great reminder, Douwe. There's always the option of quitting your job. Just go somewhere else where it's more fun, where it is easier. I mean, by all means, try to change organizations, do your best. It is worth the attempt, but don't kill yourself over it. There are more important things in the world than specific companies. And sometimes the easier thing to do is just let them die, the companies, not the people. So,
just one suggestion. I have talked to a psychologist a couple of years ago, and he was telling me, when you start in your life, you are a child of 4 years old, and then you are going to play in some playground, and you should ask yourself, when you are going to work after 50 years, do I still play in this playground, or do I only have problems? And when you only have problems, you should just quit. That's probably the best thing to do.
I agree. Last word, just quit. All right. Let's quit this talk, this Happy Melly Coffee. Thank you so much, Douwe and Nicoletta and Patrick, for your contributions. Thank you, Patrick, for organizing yet another nice discussion. I love these talks. I always learn something new as well. And like Nicoletta, I like blogging about my experiences. So some way or another, you will see these things pop up in future posts. I'm quite sure of that. So if you have any questions, feel free to add them to the Happy Melly Coffee Trello board. Patrick will share the link over on our Slack channel. And thank you for watching. And hope to see some of you in a week or two or something. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.